Thanks for taking the time to tune into the channel. This is part 2 of a series of 3 videos that really should be narrated by Jeremy Paxman rather than this mug. This story would be funny if it wasn't so serious, and it could only be a matter of time, in my humble opinion, before it blows up in the faces of Boris Johnson and also perhaps Ms. Harding. The links to part 1 and 3 are in the description, but meanwhile, let's get on with it. Now, earlier we spoke in the part 1, we finished the video with a guy by the name of Daniel Elliot. So I'd like to go back and tell you a bit about this guy, because he has to be watched. He's quite cunning and elusive, let's say. Now, Elliot was involved with a company called Blue, who by all accounts had basically a brass-plated office in Kentucky. Well, at least that's where the legal papers were sent by DAPCO Limited Investments out of Florida. You see, DAPCO were just one of the people who sued Elliot and his other business partner in their personal capacity for more than 10 million after the whole thing was found to be a story of promises, hearsay and unicorns. Now, Elliot, however, well, he had quite a different story to tell a few weeks just prior to the news story that it had gone wallop and that had hit Kentucky like a tornado. You see, he said just in early December 2018, that the ground at the industrial park proved difficult to build on and that the soil work to make the ground viable would cost $30 million to fix the ground. Well, have no fear, he bellowed. We're trying like hell. It's got a lot harder than we thought it would, but you know what? Nonetheless, officials in the local community were assured by Elliot that all will be good and even promised to increase the numbers of potential employees in Kentucky from 875 to 1,500. So all the politicians wanted to be beside Mr. Elliot, and all the various organizations wanted to be on Mr. Elliot's side. Less than 6 weeks later, just the beginning of February, a new CEO came in. And this guy wasn't a messer, this guy was quite serious. He was the former program leader of the Tesla Model S vehicle. He inherited the poison chalice, and he's the one who pulled the plug. The company filed for bankruptcy at the end of February, beginning of March. Okay? The reason it went under? Well, that wasn't simple, according to the accountants, but was very simple according to the people that worked there, who were Elliot's own family members, who got the unenviable job of having to explain that the money, about 10 million of it that disappeared from Florida, was flitted away on planes, hotels and business trips to China and the UAE. Now, this is the bloke heading Innova. This is the bloke that has been praised by Palmer, who's the CEO of the main distributor of Innova in the UK, that this is the way to move in politics. Now listen, just to a little bit more proof, and we don't have to go so far to find it this time, because it's right here in Wales. In May of this year, just weeks before Dido and Boris announced plans to expand the test and trace program with a product that, let's call a spade here, doesn't work. Now, the very same Daniel Elliot had a major announcement from his plush shared offices in Pasadena, and it went as follows. This was in April. Through partnership with Sharp Packaging, part of the UDG Healthcare PLC, and a global leader in contract packaging and clinical services, Innova's investment will add approximately 300 new jobs to South Wales. Now, where have we heard those stories of jobs like that before? Now, what exactly these new employees will be doing is anybody's guess. Oh, and to add salt to the wounds, UDG, it's not a UK-based company either. But why has everything happened in the UK faster than every other place on the planet? I mean, after all, the very company had worldwide distribution rights for the test, didn't have a single example of an approval from any internationally recognized government lab anywhere in the world before it got into the UK. You see, despite everybody else saying that these tests are about as reliable as a chocolate teacup, they were given the green light by Westminster in late August. And within just a few short weeks of late August, 800 million quid went poof up in smoke. Now, the UK's government's first contact with disruptive nanotechnology, the distributor, was agreed on the 17th of September. But this massive order and payment terms were agreed a full 3 months before the evaluation test had even been completed. In other words, they didn't know if it worked and they still had the order. Now, it got so bad and so embarrassing, would you believe, that in December, our own Department of Health and Social Care stepped in and requested that the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, our own MHRA here, which is an executive agency under the Department of Health and Social Care, accepted DHSC's request to issue special authorization to the Innova test. Why? Well, basically, obviously, things were not going according to plan. The upshot of it all, that is, according to Innova internal documents, Innova in the US has supplied as many as 500 million lateral flow tests to Great Britain last year for 2 billion quid, or 4 quid a test. And the UK taxpayers' money just melted away like ice cream in July. Now, these rapid COVID tests were most definitely, still are, and about as welcome as, to the medical professional, as a fart in a spacesuit. Every professional likes to see results. They don't like to accept people or institutions that jump to conclusions. They like to see facts. The acceptance of the test kit wasn't so much a leap in the dark for these guys. It was more like a jump from an escaped bull in a china shop, as the whole procedure wrecked every protocol the professionals ever used or ever even heard of. Now, where is the evidence of the stupidity or the complicity in the use of these rapid tests that have been authorized in the UK? Well, it gets worse, if you can believe it. The latest review found that during a surge in cases in December 2020, only 17% of the people who took the rapid COVID test got the results, the rapid results, within 24 hours. So instant coffee, this thing ain't. And if you know what I mean, it doesn't get any slower than a 24-hour cup of coffee. Now, this was against the government target of a 90% result. What happened to the other test results? Well, that's anyone's guess. The National Audit Office head, Gareth Davis, said, some pressing challenges need to be tackled if this scheme is to achieve its objectives and deliver value for taxpayers. Now, this is our own person, including understanding how many lateral flow tests are actually being used, and also by increasing public compliance with testing and self-isolation. Well, but remember, Gareth Davis made that statement before he knew it had been rejected by everybody. And by everybody, I mean everybody except our man Johnson and his buddy Hancock, that is. You see, when you were tested and they're given the all clear, you rightly think to yourself, phew, you know, that was a close call. But the test didn't work then, they don't work now, and even close to the accuracy required have been abandoned.